Oh, Lyme is really tough. I'm sorry to hear that you're going through that. And it's difficult because it's not something that gets fixed overnight. And there's so many different elements to it. You have the Borrelia bacteria, the Babesia parasite, the Bartonella. You have all these different viruses going on, and this is often then very commonly co-occurring with mold issues as well. So that's another area to be thinking about. And ultimately with this, it's a really good idea to find a practitioner, a functional medicine doctor who specializes in Lyme and can help guide you through the many stages of this that you're going to experience. So I'm going to share with you today some very powerful tools, something this practitioner I'm sure will know about as well, but just things that I want to make sure that you're aware of that you can discuss with your practitioner and find the right stages of your healing journey in which to incorporate these, because it's definitely not a situation where you want to pile these all on at once. You want to start with a couple of them, usually start with a couple of the herbal ingredients, maybe start with the infrared sauna, which we'll talk about in a second. And the reason for that is if you start detoxing too hard, if you start killing things off too aggressively, it's going to put you through a lot of suffering. And ultimately here, we're trying to minimize your suffering, right? So I mentioned infrared saunas. Now there's two perspectives out there on infrared saunas and Lyme disease. Both of them are positive, but they're different theories on how they think it's actually working. Because when people with Lyme start using an infrared sauna on a regular basis, they get tremendous relief of their symptoms very commonly. Some people will go so far as to say that the infrared wavelengths are actually able to kill spirochetes. That, it would be awesome if it was true. I haven't seen concrete proof that it is true, and I think it may not be the case. Nevertheless, the other theory, which I think holds a lot more truth, is that, as we know with spirochetes, the aspect of them that really hurts you is not the spirochete itself, but the metabolic byproducts, aka the poop, of the spirochetes, which is so toxic. And when you are using an infrared sauna and sweating out toxins every day in that form and mobilizing these toxins and getting them out of your body, this is making everything so much easier. It's bringing down that load. And so this is something that you have to be doing on an ongoing basis, and it's not a long-term absolute fix, but it can certainly make your life a lot more bearable as you're going through all of this. I've known people personally who had severe Lyme and saw tremendous relief just through use of an infrared sauna. If you want to link to the infrared saunas that I use, I'll put that down below in the description. This is something that my family is in the infrared sauna business, so you could look at that and say, of course, he's got a bias here. Don't listen to him. He's just pushing infrared saunas. I would invite you to look at it from a different direction. I'm sure those of you who have known me and have followed me for a while would never think that way anyways, but I have a lot of expertise in this, and I have had tremendous exposure to infrared saunas over a period of, almost 15 years since I've kind of grown up around them. So I have, I've been exposed to some elements of infrared saunas that your average person just going to a wellness center and using them here and there might not have been. So infrared saunas are fantastic. And generally, you want to build a lifestyle that is going to minimize your stress, right? Maybe it's a shift in your responsibilities at work. Maybe it's prioritizing your sleep quality, which is going to be a tremendously impactful move no matter what's going on with your health. Maybe that's in the form of meditation or spending a bit more time in nature, doing some breathing practices. There's many approaches to this, right? If you need more ideas in this department, if you find this really hard, send in that question to our question box in the Instagram stories, and I'd be happy to delve into that further. When people with Lyme, a lot of times, people with Lyme discover that they have Lyme long after they actually got it, but because they have a tremendously stressful experience in their life that drops their immune system down, and now the Lyme can really take hold. I knew a lady who was part of my reference earlier who found tremendous relief through infrared sauna use, but she had Lyme but didn't know it, and then got into a crazy event where she was in a car crash, and then the people that crashed into her, it was like they crashed into her on purpose, and then they robbed her, and it was like this insane event, and that huge trauma / stress actually triggered all of her Lyme symptoms to then manifest. So real intense stress is going to make things a lot worse. So build a lifestyle as much as possible, whether it's through taking herbs or through some of these different other things that I've mentioned, through taking magnesium is another way to modulate your stress and keep that under control. Now, looking at directly helpful herbs here, the top ones are going to be Japanese knotweed, cat's claw, and andrographis. Now, you may have heard astragalus talked about as well, but that's really only right in the early stages. If you have a new bite, then a new tick bite, that's when you get on heavy-duty astragalus and antibiotics to give yourself the best chance of not ending up having long-term Lyme issues. Ozone is very interesting here for its ability to kill off some of these infections. And this can be done via IV, this can be done rectally. There's various ways of going about it here, and this fortunately is something that in recent years is becoming more and more available. So that's great to see this tool accessible to people, because going back 10 years, gosh, it was, I knew some underground ways to get ozone treatment, but it wasn't easy to find very publicly. And then activated charcoal is another one as you're doing all of this, because you're going to be killing off a lot of stuff and you want to go in and mop up those toxins. And even as you're going along, you have these toxins, as I mentioned, produced by the spirochetes that activated charcoal can help mop up. Basically, you have something in your body that's producing some really toxic stuff. And yes, you want to go after what's producing it. You want to go after the root cause. But in the meantime as well, the faster you can mop up those toxins and get them out of the body, whether it's by activated charcoal, infrared saunas, etc., the least bad you're going to feel, the less bad you're going to feel, the easier it's all going to go. And another element here is that you want to empower your immune system to be able to deal with this as much as it can. The immune system is tremendously tied into gut health. Very commonly in Lyme situations where Lyme gets really bad, you also see tremendous leaky gut, really bad gut dysbiosis, imbalances in healthy bacteria. So we've got another video. Let's put a link to it here, or we'll put a link to it in the description if you're watching on YouTube. That's all about optimizing gut health. That's a lot of stuff in there that I would recommend really thinking about and going deep into as well. Now, the other factor that can help people is optimizing their mitochondria. And there's many ways to do this, but one of probably the most powerful is increasing NAD levels. NAD is a key kind of ingredient or precursor that goes into the functions of making more ATP. When your body has more energy, everything works better. It then has more energy to go after the Lyme, right? So there's various ways to go about this. The most effective and intense is going to be IV NAD therapy. Spectacularly expensive. If you've got the budget, in this case, I would say go for it and make it happen, because you want to get out of this suffering as quickly as possible and give yourself all the tools. If you don't have the budget, then you could look at supplementing with something like NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which is an NAD precursor that you can take as an oral supplement that could help you in that direction. Now, with all of this, I just want to say again, you want to start little by little. Start with some of these herbs, start with the saunas, start working on your gut little by little, and don't expect that it's going to happen overnight. This is a very sad and tragic thing that you've come down with Lyme, but it is something that you can heal from. It's not something you're going to heal from overnight. It's going to take a substantial amount of time. Could be 6 months, could be a couple of years. But think about how much life you have left after that. And so by really dedicating a couple of years to this, to really eradicating this in your system and bringing yourself back to health, this could create, maybe you have 60 or 70 years, maybe longer than that, depending on what happens with longevity research over that time, that you could have an epic rest of your life where you feel spectacular every day. One other direction I just want to mention here before we finish up is there's a study that was done on Claratin. That's right, allergy medication, Claratin with Lyme. And the mechanism of action that was found here is that they found that this drug actually prevented manganese from entering the bacteria cells and thus was able to kill off these bacteria cells by depriving them of the manganese that they require to thrive. So that's another direction to research in as well and speak about with your functional medicine doctor. So I know life is definitely going to be pretty rough for you now, but I hope that some of these tools you can use in your conversation with your functional medicine doctor to get you on a path and a strategy and a program back to health and back to healing, because I think you could truly have a beautiful, spectacular, joyful life still ahead of you. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. If you found this video interesting, or if you found any new info in here, or if you just feel like sharing some good vibes, go please click the like button down below and subscribe to our channel. We share a lot of helpful, fun, fascinating information here, and some good recipes as well that are so delicious, and we would love to have you along for the adventure with us. Thanks again, and hope everybody has a fantastic day.